Okay, previously in Adobe Photoshop, we selected out an object or a person from one image and put it on another background. And just refresh. In my layers window here, I have my protester that I chopped out of another image and put on top of these backgrounds here. I have a space background, I have a desert background, and I have the White House background. Okay. We use the pen tool to make a path around our protester here, our person. I right-clicked, made that a selection, and then did a layer mask. We revealed the selection. And what that did, if I look at my layers window here, it left my original image intact here, but it made a mask around the parts I don't want to see, the background behind the girl. It made a mask around that area. Now this is non-destructive because the whole background photo is still there. Okay, it's just certain parts are masked out. Now I'm going to make my backdrops invisible so I can show you what else we can do with this. I'm going to zoom in a little on my person, on my picture. Command plus. It's just zooming in. I'm not changing the file. I'm just looking at it closer. Okay, and we can do a couple things. I can work on this image layer and do something with my image, or I can work on this mask part of the layer and adjust the mask. When I'm on this mask part of the layer, I can use my eraser tool. Okay, the eraser tool is over here in the toolbar. Looks like an old eraser. The hotkey for that is E. Now the eraser tool, just like a lot of these other tools, has different sizes or different brush sizes. To access those, I can go up here in the upper left hand corner of my control panel and click that little triangle, and I can change the size of that eraser tool. Make it pretty big if I want. Make it down to 1 pixel if I want. Okay. I can also change the edge of that eraser tool. I can make it real solid and sharp or hard so it erases real clean, or I can lower the edge, the hardness of the edge, so it's nice and soft, so it has more of a natural erasing effect. There's also a lot of these preset brushes that I can use for my eraser. Okay, from ones that mimic actual brushes to ones that have patterns or even shapes. But we're just using our basic eraser tool for this project. And I'm just going to lower it down below 75 there. You can put on whatever you want. Whenever you got it set how you want, you hit enter. Another way to access different brush sizes for the eraser or different eraser sizes is to right click on your mouse, and it brings up that window also, so I can adjust the sizes through this. Hit enter or return when I'm ready to use it. Okay, another quick way to make that brush larger or smaller is on my keypad. On the right and left brackets, which are right next to the letter P on the keyboard, I can click right bracket to make it larger, left bracket to quickly make that brush size smaller. Okay. And so what? So what do I do with this eraser tool? Once again, I'm on my mask layer here. I'm on my eraser tool. I have it sized how I want, and look what happens. I can erase. Say I wanted to give her a haircut, I could erase into this here and get rid of certain parts of this. Okay, so what? What's the big deal? The cool thing about being on a layer mask is it's non-destructive, which means even though I erase this information, the information is still here on this original image layer. So how do I bring that information back? I can come over here, down here at the bottom of my tool panel, my foreground and background colors. If the foreground is white, I can erase if I'm on an eraser tool. And if I toggle these colors here to black as my foreground, then I can bring that information back in. Okay, so very useful. So I can zoom in real close, hold the space bar, scroll around, and make my brush real small by right-clicking, making the brush size small. And I can even bring in some individual parts of the hair back in if I want it to be real detailed. Okay, so that's how you can use that eraser tool. And I can also use the brush, if I'm on the layer mask here, on the layer mask, I can use the brush tool in somewhat the same way. Okay, a brush tool, but the color is reversed on this one. On the brush tool, if my foreground color is black, I can erase into it, and if I toggle this here, make my foreground color white, I can bring that information back in. I can even come out here and bring some of that background back in if I want. So that's non-destructive. We should almost never have to use the eraser tool on an actual object layer or image layer. We would use it on the mask layer. Okay. Once again, eraser tool, if I'm on white, I'm erasing. If I toggle to black, I am bringing information back in. Another shortcut key to toggle between the foreground background swatches or foreground background colors, hit the X key on your keyboard and see how it switches those back in. So I can quickly erase, hit X, and bring some information back in if I need to. I'm going to undo those. Option Command Z, Option Command Z, Option Command Z, Option Command Z. So I get back to where I was. Okay, so that's how you can use the eraser tool. I'm going back to the Move tool here. I'm going to zoom out a little. But what if when I cut this out, it's a pretty sharp cutout. It looks like somebody cut it out with a pair of scissors. What if I wanted to affect the overall edge of my selection here? I want to affect the overall edge, or I want to feather it. Here's how I would do that. I can position my cursor over the icon here on that layer for the masked part. Double click that, and it opens up the properties window, which gives me some layer mask adjustments. I can adjust the density of the mask, which makes it see-through, so I can sort of see how my background is still there. So instead of being 100% cut out, it can just be slightly visible. I'm going back to 100% cut out. I can feather the edges. If I feather the edges, you can see how the edge of that mask, I'll make it real extreme here, gets soft. The edge of that selection gets soft, so it feels more like a natural image, naturally cut out image. And if you keep around 3 or 4, it gives a nice little feathered edge. So if I bring my background back up, it feels a little more natural. Okay. Alright, let me bring the background back up just so you can see how it works on top of a background. Still works the same. And then we have some more selections over here on my properties window. I can double click this masked edge button, and it gives us even more selections. It gives us different ways to view our selection. I can view that selection as that object as a selection. I can view it somewhat like the quick mask mode. I can view it with a black background to make sure I clean things up good. I can view it on a white background. I can view it as a silhouette. I can view it on my actual layers, or I can view it with a layer that's masked out revealed. It doesn't change the actual file, just how I can just look at it in different ways while I'm working on it. And then at this refine mask, or this mask edge button, I can feather it from here also. I can smooth out the edges a little bit. I can make the contrast of the edges sharper. I can shift the edges out so it gets more of the background, or I can shift the edges in so it gives me a tighter cutout there. So several ways which we can affect that layer mask. And then say OK. There we are. I'm going to bring my background back up. And there we go. More of a natural cutout. Obviously, I'm doing this a little quicker, but I could come back in here, zoom in, and bring back some of the hair at these edges. But I'm just doing a pretty quick one here for this example. Okay, and once again, always save when you're done.